yeah, I would love to be able to explore that a little more in like further iteration on the game and having that be a little bit more present
Mhm.
as sort of the general player experience. I've got to say, just really quickly, it's so interesting watching the footage of you playing this again after so long, having played the game start to finish so many times myself now,
Mhm.
because there's just, I think it is actually testament to one of the ways that we really succeeded on this is just how differently you approach a bunch of the jumps to how I've gotten used to it. It shows that there's actually quite a lot of room for player expression already with even these relatively simple mechanics.
Mm. Yeah,
And I guess
depending.
how, yeah, and I guess the way that we built the level, all of the different level chunks, just how so many parts of it lend to different approaches based on how each player personally reacts to that area, that chunk of geometry, that challenge.
Yeah, I look. I don't know whether I've seen all this. I thought I had seen the whole thing, but a lot of this looks new to me. Um, I'm wondering, is there much more to say, or do we want to go on to your development page, Fraser?
I mean, I could keep talking, but I'm happy to move on. I was really enjoying watching reactive lights, or the coral dimming as you get
Yeah,
closer.
I think I
Oh, we
would
put so
really
much
like
work
to.
into the lighting.
I would really like to see this taken further, but I also know how much time and energy it would take to sort of to bring this up to a like a full kind of level.
Mhm.
So I mean, if someone out there
If anyone,
has
yeah,
yeah
exactly.
some
If
investment
anyone's got the
dollars,
cash,
how
if
much
you want to play
how
this,
much are you looking for, Fraser?
we'll take what you got.
Whatever you've got.
Get investors in
So,
chat.
but I think I mean, if the whole group spent another 12 months on it, do you think you could get a completed game? Would that be
I
enough
think,
time?
I think, 12 months. I feel like we could have finished versions of some things. I don't think 12 months would
I feel
quite. Yeah.
I feel like if we had our full team dedicate a full 12 months, like uninterruptedly dedicate a full 12 months to this, I think we could at least get a satisfying MVP.
Yes.
But it wouldn't
I
be
just
the
fear.
finished. So maybe 2 years.
Yeah, I think two
Hmm.
years and a having a programmer come in and clean up a lot of the code.
Right. So you would want a dedicated like C++ code as well, because all this is in blueprints.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So you
All
probably
this
want
is in
someone
blueprints.
And
someone to come
there's
in
a
and do
lot
that.
of it's things like optimization
Yeah.
um where it's like if I could dedicate a whole chunk of time to learning how to optimize this game and optimization in Unreal Engine 5, but it's like, is that something I would want to dedicate a lot of time to? Like, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
a programmer, I'm a designer. I would kind of, if I was working on this for another 12 months, 24 months, I would be looking at things like the grapple hook and, working on cleaning up the tutorials and, you know, like we talked about with the UI, making sure we could implement that in an artistically satisfying way that was still visually clear.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that sort of thing where it's like, yeah, I think given the team size, I feel like I would be stretching myself too thin without
Yeah.
some
Well,
more.
I think you're right. I mean, that's something that I look at this game, the complexity of the mechanics. I think 2.5 years to get something. I mean, you could focus in on certain things and maybe do it in less time, but of course you'd have a less polished product. And, it wouldn't be as good. So I would
Yeah.
imagine two to 2.5 years, and you could even go longer depending on what you were trying to do. But let's jump over to the other page. So
Mm,
this is
sure.
your. Well, do you want to introduce this, Fraser? This is kind of your page.
Yeah, so
FraserCarpenter.com.
yeah, on my website, frasercarpenter.com, I've got some portfolio pieces and a breakdown for them. So this Deep Climb page, name suggests, it's for Deep Climb. So if you scroll down through here, I've got more details, general summary, and then development, and then a breakdown of the parts I specifically worked on. So discussing the level design, and you can see some of our sort of process for developing ideas, and then going into things like greyboxing, talking about design goals, player experience.
What
that
was
sort of
this?
stuff.
Is this done on Miro?
Yeah, Miro.
Miro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
So this is one of
we-
your design tools, if you like.
Yes, I love Miro, or I mean, I like Miro as specifically, but any sort of online whiteboard I like a lot. And I mean, the big part of that is working as a team of remote devs. Studying was online, so
Yep.
I imagine a regular old physical whiteboard I would probably also really enjoy, but
Fair enough.
yeah, I think that shared space and the ability to sketch things out and move ideas around is really valuable, especially for things like level design.
Moving things around.
Yeah, I like to imagine the world where we're able to assemble a studio with all of us like in person one day and have just a wall dedicated to just a big whiteboard with a massive stack of sticky notes on hand.
Sure. So cool. Okay, so this is the whole the world
no,
design.
Scroll past those. That's my favorite bit.
Oh, this part,
can-
yeah.
Yeah, you can drag the images to see the grey box versus the art asset version.
Oh, look at geez, that's
Oh, that's
snazzy.
Yeah,
cool.
right? Yeah.
Wow, that's very technological. Goodness me. How do you do that?
But yeah, so that one is the specific one that I was saying didn't have a specific design goal. I just really liked the geometry, and we all agreed it was cool and should be in the game.
That's a great example. Like, 'cause I try and teach students, hey, this is, grey box. You do it like this, and then put your art in. But this is a really good one. I might sort of, steal this as an idea.
Please.
Yeah. is this something that's available in? Was it WordPress? This is WordPress, yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
a,
they have
a tricky
a
WordPress
default
thing.
tool for it.
Oh, all right. Because you can't do it in. I don't think you can do it in like PowerPoint or anything like that. But that's a really great. That's a really good example. So here's the grey box example, and you test your gameplay, you make sure things work, and then you apply your art. Yeah. and it looks so different.
If you, because I think the general pipeline was building it in, like building the grey box and then creating a level instance, and then placing the art assets on top of it. So if you follow that, you can then just copy, or you can hide and hide the instance, take the screenshot of the art assets, and then hide the art assets, take a screenshot without moving the camera in Unreal, and you don't even have to do anything tricky. You're in the same physical spot with the same angle, and it lines up nicely.
Yeah. Cool. Very good. What's this one up here? This actually there's some more to see here. So these are just different. Okay, so these are... Well, we've just seen through this. I think it's just really useful to see. This is the start. This is with no art assets. Because I think certainly I see a lot of students starting, in a level that looks like this, and I'm like, that's pretty complicated. Maybe you should go for this one. But certainly, when starting, everyone wants something that looks like this. Whereas I'm like, I'd rather see something that looked like this and had good gameplay, and then they do that. But
that's exactly the thing, because when you get too bogged down into the aesthetics too early, it's way harder to get something that actually plays well.
Yes, of course. I mean,
you totally lose sight of how the player will interact with the space when the focus is the player looking at the space, and
of
having
course,
those grey boxes is so invaluable.
And changing this is much harder than changing that. You've just got some basic shapes and stuff in there. Whereas once you put your art in, it's like, oh, you got to go to your artists and, can you just change, these things and maybe make that longer and add some materials and, you wanna find out this stuff beforehand. Oops, I'm getting mixed up here. So yes, your grey box compared to your art levels, very very important concept. Again, one that is very hard to convince when you're teaching, convince students of. I think once you get in and start playing it, it's not so hard. World design. What have we got here? Oh, some more world design stuff here. Oh, cool. Looks very different with the sky. This is obviously.
Yeah.
I like that. This is really kind of nice. So this is all available on your website. Tutorial design. Yep. Nice. Again.
So there's there you go. There's some of the that's version 1 of the tutorial in big air quotes. This is when we wanted the first level to teach the player the mechanics. So
right.
It's, very bare bones.
Yeah. And this one. Okay, so this is the one that stayed in. This is the one that we started in.
That only that area, but then here's.
Yeah, no, that was the first room of the old tutorial that it ended up being the first room of the new tutorial, and there's what the old tutorial looked like.
Yes, I remember having no idea what was going on. I think this was, look, to me, this was when you guys realised, our players are really stupid. Our players are really dumb. Now, I was the player at the time, so I can say that. But I think it was in this point that you guys are like, oh, hang on. Yeah, we really need to, put the dots really close together, because to connect those dots and understand what's going on requires a lot more. Because this was your first attempt at doing, well, you said this one, but this was kind of, you were still, this was, you were still kind of, but this was your first sort of more dedicated tutorial area. And we didn't get it.
And there were only so many times we could watch someone faceplant into a wall before we knew that something had to change.
Exactly. Exactly.
Even the text, that last image, just really shows the iteration, because it's like we had the text, but if you remember the text we saw at the start of this stream, there's color, there's bolding, there's italices, like...
It's easier to read, there's no doubt.
We spent a lot of time really trying to implement as much as we could in the tutorial. Yeah,
it's come a long way. It's really good. It's really sort of come together. So, and here we have the final one, isn't it? So these are the different iterations which we've just been through. And which again, I mean, ideally you'd go through and do another iteration, at least one, maybe more, of the last things. So particularly that previous one there. Cool programming. Here we go. So you guys, I think, didn't you guys manage to get through the entire course, the degree course, without actually having a programmer in your team? Was that what you told me?
We grouped up a lot and kept very much persistently butting our heads against the programming wall.
Interesting. Was there a reason for that? Let me ask. Be honest. Was there a particular reason for that?
I mean, we liked how we worked together, and we felt that having a team that could be honest and function as a team really strongly outweighed incorporating somebody who could program. And then on the flip side of that, there's so many tools to help people learn programming. We're already in this study student mindset. At least for me, this is my experience. It was like, why would I sacrifice working with one of these people that I work really well with to potentially get someone who's, they might know how to program, but they might be really difficult and might not mesh well with the group.
So there's a few things there that I think it's really worth taking note of. One is group dynamics and communication. I think a good group that works well together, communicates, is invaluable. So probably I'd even say a group of sort of mediocre, talented people compared to sort of maybe a group of rock stars who don't work well together, is it's better to have those sort of just average. A team of average people will be more successful than a team of rock stars who can't really communicate. So I think that's important.
Well, I mean, you compare with actual major game projects in the industry. You compare Sonic Mania, which was made by a fan of the Sonic series and some of the Sonic developers. You compare that to Balan Wonderworld from Square Enix that got the original creator of the Sonic the Hedgehog series, but the game isn't good because they just thought that they could ride off of, talent without necessarily putting together a team that cares.
Yes, and I think we see that time and time again in the games industry, and I think we have kind of touched on this a number of times, Fraser, when we've been talking. You get even even you get the same studio. I think last week we went through Mirror's Edge. We were talking about DICE, and people leave, people move on, and particularly when you get key people moving on. The studio might have the same name, but it doesn't necessarily have the same capacity. It doesn't have the same, level or the same cohesion. It could really be a different team altogether. And I think that's one of the things that really affects the games industry, and even in TV. I mean, I don't know whether you've watched TV series, but you get to sort of series 3 and it's still really good, and then Series 4 comes along, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay. The B team, they've given this over to the B team, basically. The really important people have left, and they don't really understand what the characters are, what the narrative is, and you get...
It
you just get
happens so often, and it's so obvious.
Yeah. So you put up here, okay, so you're giving away all your blueprints here, Fraser. That's cool to see.
I mean, if they work for anyone else, if it makes any sense, there's probably like 30 things in each one that's like, why did you do it like that? But
well, that's the beauty of programming and blueprints and stuff. So fantastic. Thanks for coming on, guys, and talking about Deep Climb. It's really, really good to sort of go through and see that sort of progression from beginning to end. I think there's a lot of people out there who, maybe haven't gone through that process of developing a game, and there's a lot of things that you learn through that process. It's not just a case of learning how to use, say, Unreal Engine 5. You do need to learn a lot more. Maybe do you guys want to say something to that about sort of learning the tools compared to other stuff you've learned?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think, honestly, you hit the nail on the head when you were talking about the thing with the team structure, because I completely agree with that notion that I think the most important thing that I have learned through all of this, and I think it's one of the big reasons that I wanted to study game design in the first place, is that process of working with a team, understanding everyone's skills, understanding everyone's limitations, knowing what knowing how all of the cogs move in a project like this. And I think that sense of understanding and communication is so important, and I just find it so special that I got to work with an amazing team like I got to for Deep Climb, and I think that working with this specific team was invaluable to me, because it lent to, really learning how to work well with others on a project like this, and I think that that's number one priority.
Yeah, cool. Fraser, any final thoughts?
I mean, I agree fully with what Zeb has said, but I guess to say something different, I'm gonna just keep harping on. But it's iteration, it's prototyping, and it's playtesting. Always, you can't. From what I found, it's like you can't start either exactly knowing what the player experience will be, or without having to assume the player experience. And so learning how important it is to playtest early and often, and critically analyze the playtest feedback, and be willing to really make major changes based on what the actual player experience is, not the one you intended or assumed.
Well, that's a very interesting observation, actually. Yeah, really important.
Yeah.
Cool. Fantastic. All right, guys, thanks again for coming along. If you want to check out Fraser's website, please do. FraserCarpenter.com/Deep Climb, and you can sort of get access to all this stuff. And we will wrap that up. So thanks again. We'll catch everyone next week.
Cheers.